What is going on, y'all? This is the Caveman. I'm here with Football with Oz Austin for episode 102 of Against the Blitz. And like we promised at the end of last episode, today we are doing 10 more receivers to give scouting reports on, player comparisons, grades for, because it's a relatively deep class and it's important to get to guys that your team could very well end up choosing in rounds 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because all of these guys, arguably could make a larger impact than some of the guys in the first round. That's just the reality of things. There's a lot of guys that people never hear about that end up being some of the best players in the league, quite frankly. So this is always a position that's pretty deep. But before we get into it, as always, like, comment, share, subscribe. Self-promotion always helps. Get in the Discord, link in the description as well. But Austin, first, how are you doing on this fine Sunday evening?
I'm great. My bracket is being melted in front of me. It was doing so good, and it is just being depleted. But it ruined my day. But watching some receivers made it a little better.
Some of them just kind of pissed me off. Something that made me feel better, though, was watching the flag football thing that the Fanatics put together. And I was of the camp a couple of years ago when this was a conversation that this would not be a competition for NFL players. If you put a team together comprised of the best players and they had some time to practice and play, I think they would comfortably walk away with the victory. And they kind of showcased what that might look like this past Sunday. And I felt like it was worthy of talking about because it's a hot conversation. Flag football is becoming a bigger and bigger sport, especially with it being in the Olympics, and the whole NFL versus Team USA thing is kind of a controversial topic. And Team USA put belt to ass on every single NFL player that stepped on that field, retired or active. And it got a lot of people thinking, like, what would the best flag football team be if you comprise it of primarily NFL players? So we put together 5 guys on offense, 5 guys on defense to kind of discuss, like, if these guys give like a month of practice, what would that team look like?
Yeah, I like my team of average to maybe below average players more than if I did like a 230-pound Saquon. Like I'm not going to be doing like a 200-something pound Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Like, you kind of have to go into the weeds a little bit because it's not the same. Size doesn't matter whatsoever for flag football.
No, it doesn't. Like, a lot of the guys on the Team USA team are like 5'8", 5'9". They're just super skinny but shifty as fuck. Like, the acceleration on these guys is insane, and they are leaving like active NFL players in the dust in the open field. I'm like, holy shit. Like, I knew these guys were good. I didn't think they would embarrass them that bad, but like they couldn't score. Like the NFL teams were struggling even to score.
Good. They struggle against my team too. Team's loaded.
What is your 5? I think we're going to go much different directions here. If you had an offense, a flag football offense of 5 guys, who would it look like?
Okay, so I have 2 quarterbacks. One is Kyler Murray. The other is University of Washington quarterback Damon Williams.
Okay. That's good. That's
2
good.
5'10" little shifty dudes. I have 3 receivers. We skipped running back. Running routes, I have Tank Dell and Tez Johnson. And then I have Kevontae Turpin as my utility guy.
I like that. I feel like you got to go 2 quarterbacks because it's all about laterals and trick plays. You need to have multiple people that can throw the freaking football. And I didn't go completely the route of, bums. Quite frankly, the best.
I didn't either.
Yeah, you got
bums.
Damon Williams.
He's the one, and he's fun, but his team hates him now.
Yeah,
he's not a bad football player. He's just tiny.
I do like that duo, though. That would be kind of like the most annoying thing of all time.
Yeah, sack that. Try.
I think my 5 guys on offense would be, I'd have to put Lamar in there. A healthy Lamar. A healthy Jaden Daniels, who was actually there. I feel like those 2 guys would be ridiculous to try and get. Zay Flowers has to make this list, right? Like, that guy is probably the most electric guy in the open field sometimes. And I feel like we saw Gronk actually make the largest impact for like the one drive he played at this event because he was just such a mismatch for every single human on Team USA. So I put Colston Loveland on here because he's got the best combination of, I think, size, receiving ability, and hands, really. And then I think my last player, if we're going to go the route of college players, I feel like Zachariah Branch would be pretty perfect for this.
Kind of what he's made for, yeah.
Yeah, so he'd probably be quite an unbelievable flag football player. Real player, and we'll see. But what about your defense?
Defense. So I have one guy. His guy could play offense. Marcus Jones.
I like that.
I also have Garrett Williams, Starling Thomas, DJ Turner, and Tariq Woolen to guard the tall guys.
Ooh, Tariq Woolen. Starling Thomas, please enlighten everybody, including myself, as to who Starling
Thomas?
I mean, I've heard of him, but like, does he even play?
Yeah, he plays all the time. He's actually not bad. Arizona. And he's fast as shit. I don't remember his 40 time. Let me look it up. Starling Thomas.
Is he a starter?
Yeah.
Really?
4.28.
Holy fuck.
The dude can fly. He went to like what, UAB? I think he went to UAB.
Oh, okay.
And he could absolutely fly. And he's not bad. He's just tiny, but like in flag football, who cares? That's what Tariq Woolen's for. He's my 6'4" guy. Every other player is like 5'10" or shorter.
When was he drafted? Why do I feel like I don't know?
Like 2 years ago?
Okay. Well, who are their corners then? Is it Will Johnson, Garrett Williams, and Starling
Kind
Thomas?
of him, yeah. They had like Denzel Burke playing, I think because of injury.
Okay.
But he's not supposed to be a starter.
Interesting. Okay. Starling Thomas, yeah.
Goat.
Goat. I feel like my five guys, I don't know, once again, maybe I'm just boring. You're getting creative with this. I think
this took me 3 minutes.
I mean, Starling Thomas is a name I never would have pulled. To be honest, 4.28 is crazy. I think on defense, I think Deonte Banks has to be on here. He's fast. I think was it him or Cordero Flott that took a kick return for the Giants? It was Banks,
I don't know.
Right?
I know Deonte Banks was the one that got fooled by Quentin Johnston's elite high step route.
He might be too dumb to play, bro. You got to be kind of smart. That is fair. I didn't even think about that because the way the laterals work, like you have to understand and have the play recognition like on the spot to know, when to jump down, when to fall back. Like that's true. Deonte Banks like can't even speak English. How about I think Travis Hunter's got to be on here too. Like he's he's twitchy. I think I'd also put, oh boy, do you go the route of like, I like DJ Turner. DJ Turner's definitely got to be on there. I don't know. I feel like Tariq Woolen would be getting fried.
Not downfield though. He's almost playing safety.
Yeah, but I think it's a lot of man coverage, if I'm not mistaken. Like I think he would man. I think these guys would like
not downfield though.
They'd chef his ass up.
I have 4 5'10", like 4-2-5 corners on this team. I can have 1 6'4", 5'2" something corner that just doesn't give. He's really mostly covering tight ends.
Yeah, I mean,
like just like is just like playing at the catch point, hoping the tight end doesn't moss him.
Well, that would be so. DJ Turner. Cordero, no, I went Deonte Banks, unfortunately. And how about like Dante Jackson? He was really fast in his prime, wasn't he? Is he still fast?
I couldn't tell you. Probably. I feel like those guys don't get slow. They just get like bad at everything else.
Yeah, that's true. And then how about this is tough. Do I want a tall guy? I don't know. Like, I don't think most flag football teams even employ a tall player. Do they even bother?
Otherwise, it's just like tight end central.
That's true. Like, Denzel Ward, actually. That's my last pick.
He could play a tight end.
Yeah. And he's fast as shit, too.
He's mean. Like top 5 corner when healthy, Denzel Ward.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe top 3.
I think with the flag football stuff, because there was some discourse on Twitter too about if you like, quite frankly, if it's fun or not. Like, do you like it? Like, because it's a different game across the board, and I don't like it either. I think the hip dipping is like kind of dumb, and I feel like it's just like the lateral stuff and the rusher coming in instantly. I feel like if you're going to develop a sport that stems off of another sport, it has to resemble that sport a little bit more outside of just the fact that you're throwing and catching it.
It's like, did you watch the 3v3 basketball in the Olympics like 2 years ago?
I think I watched some of it.
Awful. It was horrible. It had who was like that GOAT BYU guard? White guy. What's his name? Hold on. YU 3v3 BYU. Yeah, Jimmer Fredette.
Oh.
They had Jimmer Fredette and then like a bunch of guys I've never heard of. And it was awful because it's just like a watered down product of a really good sport. And it's the same thing. Like flag football. Football is an amazing sport. We don't need to water it down and create like another thing. It's kind of like for kids that like don't want concussions or people that want to play like recreationally without getting hurt.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's fun. It is fun to do. Professionally, I don't need it. I don't need it at all.
I know. It just isn't like, I feel like even touch football resembles real football a little bit more because it's just so much more based on positioning than it is just like who's got the best trick play and who's got the twitchiest people to just kind of, wreck open space. Like, I don't think there's any chance you can really play a comfortable zone coverage because you're just, you're going to be watching people flick the ball back and forth in the backfield until you got to rush two players. And then so it's just, I've never liked it. I've never liked playing it. Like someone like me, I feel like I would like it more because I'm like skinnier, I'm faster, but I just cannot stand the difference. And I think the rusher stuff too is just so insane to me. Like you're telling me that I have to get the ball out in sub, like basically 5 seconds with how fast rushers come in. You can't impede them whatsoever. They get a straight beeline at the quarterback. You can't even develop a dig route by the time a fucking rusher's in your face. So I feel like that part of it really, really bothers me too. It just is pitchy woo-woo every play, it feels like.
I didn't even watch it. I have no idea. I have no idea what even any of this you're saying is. I cared so little.
I was fascinated by the whole Team USA versus some NFL players plus Logan Paul and Speed. But I show Speed was step for step with Devontae Smith on a bomb.
Yeah, some people were like, he got cooked. Like,
no.
Do you know what cooking is? If that ball was even a hair underthrown, that was a PBU by Speed on a really good receiver. So
if Speed would have broken up a deep ball from Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith, there would have been conversations. We would have been pushing agendas that Speed deserves a shot because that was ridiculous, especially considering the fact that ball, like you said, was perfect. Like if it was not perfect, it is broken up. And unfortunately for Hurts, I think Jalen Hurts had the worst day ever. Like his PR took such a massive hit, and if more people were paying attention, I think it'd be a bigger discussion because he threw like 2 pick sixes. His lateral agility, which has never been good, was just horrendously exposed. Like the guy is just so lunky left to right. It was so bad, man. He looked lost. And then Drewski's interviewing him on the sideline. He's like, "You enjoying the game? Like how's it going?" He's like, "Just learning as we go." It's like the most Jalen Hurts answer ever. That's right. So I was fascinated. I do think if you give the guys like a month or so to really practice and you pick the 5 or the 10 real actual active players, we're looking at a slightly different result, in my opinion.
If they care also.
Yes, right. Like
I don't think they give a shit.
No, not in that case. And
no.
Team USA was playing for I think they all got like $100,000 each, which is a lot of money for those guys. They don't.
Sure, I'll take it.
Yeah, for real. And these guys are over here just doing it for the fun of it. Like Brady looked good. I think Brady should just come back.
Yeah,
Brady was
better than Phillip Rivers, and Phillip Rivers was not as bad as I thought.
That is true. Brady would be better. Brady would be the backup quarterback for the Raiders this year.
He might die if he gets hit though. He's really skinny now.
He might just fall.
He's got to be like 188. Like he is so thin.
It's all that Botox.
Yeah.
Receivers, though, we have 10 of these guys that we're going to run through and discuss. all 10 of these guys probably aren't cracking a traditional top 10 list, maybe one or two of them. But in terms of the grand consensus, these are, I don't know, sleepers, if you will. I think to most of draft Twitter, that would be a strong word. But if you're just kind of a casual fan looking to get more information about some receivers that can go on day 2 or 3, then these would be what I would consider some sleepers. So we're going to go through and we're going to start with number 1. And that is, I didn't share the screen. Ted Hurst. Ted Hurst is somebody that I've heard a lot about before I started watching receivers. And he, to me, was somebody that I had a high hopes. I think he was one of those players I was thinking was going to fall into that like top 5 to 8 range, perhaps, of the bunch that we ended up watching. But I ultimately ended up feeling like in order to get the most out of him, he was going to have to play more in the slot and be kind of a big slot type of Devon Bailey kind of player. And Devon Bailey has kind of been a meme for the, ever since he got traded over to the Saints. But in all reality, he's a pretty solid player with good ball skills. And I think just as far as a route running perspective goes, I wasn't like encouraged by what Ted Hurst brings to the table on the boundary. And I think given some of the competition he played, it's hard for me to project like what the ball skills will look like at the NFL level. So I know that those things don't just fall off because you're facing better competition, but I didn't think we were watching like the craziest high point player ever, the craziest, ball skills guy in the draft. So I wasn't moved. I think, like I said, if he had a bit more of an opportunity to release freely and you put him in more of a big slot position like Devon Bailey, I think that would be where Ted Hurst would excel the most.
Yeah, I see some of like the power slot stuff because a lot of his stuff came from like winning a quick slant and accelerating like really fast and just dusting an angle. I had his comp as George Pickens very light. And most of that is I think he has a very similar frame and like athletic ability. The only really main difference is just the shiftiness, how George Pickens can get open so quick and he can shake you after the catch. And of course, having one of like the freakiest spectacular catch abilities in the NFL. Ted Hurst has some of that. He has some moments on tape where he is almost horizontal, diving and catching the ball, leaping backwards, one-hand catches. He can do it. It's just, as part of me wonders how much a school like Georgia State is really developing receivers. Definitely not at the rate as someone that might go to Ohio State or someone that goes to Alabama or Clemson. So it does give me a little bit more hope that with a frame like that and athletic ability like that, and having flashes of being a high-end contested catch artist, bringing it all together with some proper coaching might be really good.
Yeah, there's definitely the flashes in terms of guys in the class. Like these are some of the highest highs, even for a guy that might be going, halfway in the back end of the draft. But I think the other part that was difficult for me too is just the fact that I struggle to see a pathway on the field for him. That's something we talked about a lot with running backs, but in particular with Ted Hurst, it's like if he's not going to find his way on the field as being that boundary jump ball guy and it doesn't translate, then he's got little slot experience. I don't know if there's really much special teams appeal, little run blocking tape, I felt like. So I'm like, if he's not going out there and he's not just, kind of George Pickensing his way to a roster spot, to, a rotational receiver room, then I think he's going to have a hard time going that route, which is why I was projecting more of that Devon Bailey stuff, because if it doesn't translate ball skill wise, then I don't know if he's going to have another way to crack the field.
Yeah, he's someone like obviously coming from Georgia State, being so raw. I don't know if the expectation is for him to come in and immediately be like a team's receiver too. I think most people, when they mock him, he's usually like mid to late day 2, which is about where I have him. I think I have a 3rd round grade on him. And that feels fair to me as a guy that is expected to play on your team pretty quick. But if you draft someone like Ted Hurst, you should have 2 to 3 receivers on your team that are better than him. Because I do think there will be a learning curve. But I think just having the tools that he has and the flashes that he has, I am definitely willing to buy in. It won't be for everybody, but if my team already has 2 studs on it and I don't need a high volume guy, I'm willing to take the guy that probably will have pretty big splashes of deep balls and wins after the catch, maybe even in his rookie year.
Yeah, for sure. There are guys here that I didn't even think had highs worthy of being really talked about in this video, to be frank. But they're just high up on the. There are people that are big fans of them. They're high enough on the mock draft database board, and it is just a flavor thing. But in terms of like the ceiling, you talk about floor ceiling, it's definitely higher with Hurst comparatively. So it's easily to be drawn. You're easily drawn to a guy like him, given some of his counterparts, especially. What about Brenen Thompson? What'd you think of him?
Fast as fuck. Yeah, guy is. Jesus Christ. I've been watching him for a while because one of the main members in our Discord is a Mississippi State fan, and he talks wide receivers a lot. So he talked about Brenen Thompson earlier, and I was like, yeah, whatever, Homer. And then I watched him play, and this guy can absolutely fly. Easily the fastest football player in this class. And he's not just like a dumb fast, though. Like, I put JJ Nelson as my comp because he was a guy for the Cardinals that it felt like every other game had like a wide open 70-yard deep ball touchdown. And that's how I feel Brenen Thompson will be, but maybe a better version, because I do think he actually has some real stuff as a route runner. And I think that he does have some stuff after the catch. It's just having, being 164 pounds is very limiting with what you can do, because you won't be able to block, and you might not be able to handle a lot of volume. But I think with having a specialty that he has, being able to beat people on go routes from the 25-yard line, it's absurd. So I am willing to take him 3rd round.
I agree. I thought Brenen Thompson was like, you look at guys in this class like Zachariah Brandt or even Deion Burks and guys across the board, and even Chris Bell, like these guys that are supposedly super fast or they're really quick, and it's like, I don't know. I just don't see it in game speed as much, or I feel like it's not having the impact you'd expect, the measured time to have. Brenen Thompson ran like a 4. What did he run? A 4?
It was one of the best ones ever.
Yeah, like 4.27 or something like that. Wasn't it a high 4.2? But
4.26, yeah.
4.26. Like, and you can see it. This is this guy will rip the seams to shreds. He will absolutely draw attention in the secondary. He will open the field up. Like, everything you would want in a guy that's that fast, he is. And I found it kind of annoying to read some of the write-ups on Thompson, because it's listing negatives for a guy that's 5'9", 164, as if you wouldn't expect them to be negatives. Like, no shit, right. He's weak at the catch point. No shit, he probably isn't physical and can't block too well. like, thanks. I'm not going to sit here and list those as cons when I know he can run a 4.27 and take the top off any given play. So I was on one hand thinking that, but on the other hand, you know what you're getting. So you're probably not developing this version of Brenen Thompson much further. He might become a slightly better route runner and work the intermediate parts of the field better, but you're drafting Brenen Thompson to be what he is, and that's just this freakazoid that can literally open up the offense for you in so many different ways. And that's enough for me. Like you said, I'm more than glad to take a player like this that I actually feel like will have that field stretching ability. Like, the word field stretcher is thrown around on so many different guys, when I don't feel like a lot of guys deserve to be labeled as such. Like, this is the said definition of a field stretcher. So I think that there are some drop issues. I think he had in 2025, like 5 drops or so. So there's some concentration stuff that you probably wish was a little bit better. But if he could refine his ability to catch the ball and a little bit of traffic down the field, this could be a broken receiver, like a really broken receiver.
Yeah, this should be 99 speed. This should be a Madden 99 speed. He's one of the guys I think we could give that Devin Hester 100 to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it shouldn't be everybody, but it should be guys that are literally winning go routes from within the 30-yard line.
Yeah.
It's absurd. No one does that. And he gets separation. Like, it's not like he just caught a bucket. It gets legit getting open by just running straight because he's that fast.
It's freaky. Like, it's genuinely a Bruce. I don't know is he on Bruce Feldman's freak athlete list? He's got it.
I don't know. I have no idea. He's been in college a while, and it kind of took him a second to become who he is. Because he used to be kind of just seen as like a return guy, even though he didn't get a lot of return love. People kind of thought he might just be that. And then I guess Mississippi State had him running a couple deep routes, and they're like, "Oh my god, like please keep doing this." And it took him a while to get going, but man, dude, he's unbelievable.
He definitely is one of those guys, though, that has to be. I don't want to say in the right system, but with the right quarterback. Like, you put him in San Francisco. Unfortunately, you're not getting what you should out of Brenen Thompson with Brock Purdy,
right?
Or list whatever other weaker armed quarterback you can. But you actually put him in an offense with Josh Allen or Baker Mayfield, even Lamar. Like, we're talking about guys, Mahomes with cannons. Like, that's where you're getting the most out of Brenen. So I see a lot of like team fit conversation when it comes to talking about prospects, and I don't know. I just don't like to do that. But with Brenen Thompson, I feel like he's so specific that he would literally have to be with somebody that can chuck the ball nearly 85 yards in order to be worth it.
Agreed.
Bryce Lance, talk about another guy that can absolutely fly. This was probably the most fun I had watching a player going in this second episode here for receivers. And my goodness gracious, like, this is a dream athlete. Like, you build one in a lab, this is what you get. Damn near 99 speed, 6'3", 204. And he's just a big play waiting to happen, whether it's, catch and run or whether it's down the field. And he's not just like Brenen, for the most part, is just kind of running past people. Bryce isn't quite that fast, but he's got enough twitch at the top of the route downfield to be able to get that separation. And he's a decent deep route runner. And he was getting over top constantly. Like, the catches he was making too in the end zone, like, he is doing Jordan Tyson type stuff where he's throwing his body wherever he has to in order to come down with the football. It was just like highlight after highlight with him. I do think if you want to get more of a number one option out of this, I think out of all of the 10 guys we talk about, this is the one or two of them that I feel comfortable saying could eventually turn into a team's number one receiver. He will just need to refine his game, in the shorter to intermediate parts of the field. Like, you look at his highlights, like, most of them are just, burning downfield. He definitely needs some refinement. He's going to need new release packages to be pressed, but it's hard not to be attracted to him if you like Chris Brazzell, if you like Jordan Tyson. Like, this is kind of that same mold of just humongous, super fast, crazy athlete. So I comped him to Will Fuller because I just remember how bad Will Fuller was just sprinting past people downfield. And that span of like 4 weeks he had where he scored like 8 touchdowns. That was like the most fun I've had watching a receiver ever, honestly.
Bryce Lance has been one of my guys for quite some time. And that was when people thought he was 25 years old. It came out he's not. He's like 23. So he's not nearly as old as people thought. And that made people a lot happier, thinking like, yeah, he has some development to do. Like you said, especially as a route runner, but the tools are incredible. He's 6'3" and looks all of it. He isn't like a catch point monster yet, but he has plenty of plays on tape where he can win red zone fades and he can win downfield. He can catch with his hands. He can play above the rim. And he's not consistent there yet, but he's shown he can do it. Again, he's not one of these guys where you can just play off coverage, because he can actually win after the catch too. And that was a thing I didn't really know about him going in, but I saw so many times he'd catch a screen and pick up first downs. And they're not screens where he has lead blockers. He just makes the off coverage miss and he gets a first down. And sometimes he can house it. He's housed multiple throws that were like only a couple air yards. And I don't see a spot where he is just bad. Like, this guy has the ability, like you said, to fully stretch the field, to win at the catch point, to win after the catch. And I think he's a fluid enough mover to become a good route runner. And we see all the time guys where we're talking about turning guys into good route runners. And they'll talk like, oh, we'll just turn N'Keal Harry into a good route runner. It'll be fine. He's stiff as a board. He can't do it. Physically, he cannot be one, no matter how hard he tries. But Bryce Lance is very fluid, and he can sink his hips. And you see it after the catch. He just has to keep working to do it as a route runner. But the offense they ran, they didn't throw the ball a ton. It was kind of an odd offense. I think if he plays somewhere where they do like to air it out, just getting more reps under his belt will be so big.
Definitely. I think this will be one of those players where we look back and we're like, did he fail himself or did the team fail him? I obviously this is extremely early to say something like this, but how do you can't mess something like this up. And if you do, it's going to be on the team and the development process. And I just can't see how you end up with a player like this and you don't find a way to work him in or to, grow his game, because he's got, like we're saying, every single tool you could ever dream of to be an elite receiver in this league.
Yeah, he's not one of these guys either where you're Brenen Thompson and you're 110 pounds and we're like, how do we get this out there? Like, we know we want it, but how do we do it? There's a million of these guys. They're all over the place. And I kept thinking of guys like Darius Slayton, where he's, a good size, good height. We're still working on becoming a good route runner, but he wins vertically. He stretches the field. And he's sufficient enough at everything else to make a pretty good career for himself, make a little money, and play for a long time. And when you're drafting a guy, day 2, day 3, if you can get a Darius Slayton out of it, especially one that's, in my opinion, a better prospect and probably a better athlete, then I'm all in.
Totally. Yeah. And unlike, a guy like Ted Hurst I was saying earlier, where I'm concerned about his path to snaps, like he will have a spot on all 32 teams. Bryce Lance will. Like any single room right now would be happy to bring in a guy like Bryce Lance and try to find a way to get him on the field. So yeah, I think this is probably one of my favorite prospects of this entire cycle. And obviously it is the case for everybody. This is like a humongous fan favorite on draft Twitter, and rightfully so.
Yeah, should be.
Elijah Sarratt. Let's hear it.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that people that watch tape are going to have a hard time arguing with the guys that, like spreadsheet scout, because from an analytic perspective, he's like top 5 for a lot of people. Wow. From like the yards per route run and every other kind of like little like metric you could come up with. He actually is pretty high up on those. And he's well built, he's experienced, he has a good brain. Everything about him, like everything that I think that he can control, he does very well, in my opinion. But my biggest issue is he's just so athletically limited that I do really struggle to see how he's going to win outside of really anything other than that like Devon Vele role. But he's not even as good of an athlete. He's not even bigger than Vele. He's 6'2", 210. So I gave him a Bears Keenan Allen comp because I do think he's intelligent. I do think that, he runs a good out route. He has that really cool connection with Mendoza. He seems like a fan favorite, a locker room favorite, but physically, like, he just can't threaten you deep. It doesn't happen. No one's scared of you. And then after the catch, also not scary. And really outside of playing Oregon, I don't think he's as good of a contested guy as people really think he is. He had a couple of really clutch catches in big moments, so he's labeled as like, traps for hands, but I think outside of the Oregon games, I really just don't see anything special there either.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree 100%. I think generally speaking, it's probably not good process to admit this, but I don't look at any stats really. Like part of my scouting process and this year specifically, like I don't look at any advanced analytics. I don't look at, I'm forced to see like their baseline numbers, but I just don't bother because I don't want to be misled. And it's crazy to me that Sarratt is, in those conversations because the film just completely says something otherwise. I labeled him as Alan Lazard, and I think Allen Lazard is perfectly fitting for him because there's like, in the nicest way possible, there's nothing really desirable about having Allen Lazard on your team.
Right.
Like he didn't really do much. I feel like he made a few good catches here and there. Like he was Aaron Rodgers' friend, and it kind of is the same idea with Sarratt, the way you're saying with Mendoza. He had a nice connection with him, but other than that, it's like, what really does Sarratt provide? Like, it was kind of insane to me that he had 900 plus yards on the year, because his calling card seemed to me to be the boundary receiver, their contested guy, their jump ball guy. But he plays so much smaller than 6'2", 210 to me. Like, I get that's not 6'4", but if that was his role, it seemed to be what he was supposed to be there for. I just didn't see this player that was able to control his body and put himself in a position to catch it and disconnect himself from the DB at the time the ball came consistently. It was just a very inconsistent product, really, from him. And in the nicest way possible, he's like the wide receiver representation of how we view running backs. Like, he just is so replaceable. There's just nothing that I see in his game that would keep him, in my receiver room, quite frankly. So this was probably one of my least favorite watches. I just was not turned on at all.
No, he's a guy, and I like the Allen Lazard comp for every reason you said too. Of kind of the main reason he was out there is because he had a good connection with Rodgers, and it worked. Like, they could get first downs. Like, there are times where it is valuable, but when we're talking about Sarratt as like a midday 2 guy, we're not taking Lazard midday 2. I would take Lazard probably like 6th round if I knew what he was going to be today, because there is a floor there where he can play a little football, and he can pick up some chunk downs, and really anything outside of that. I think like if I had like 0 out of 10 meters for a lot of his traits, I think I would have below 3s for really most athletic ones. IQ, like, I think he has a very high football IQ. I think that he plays the game the way that it's meant to be played from a mental standpoint. It's just, he just physically, athletically cannot do it to the level of a day 2 pick. So I think that he very much has to be a day 3 pick.
Yeah, there's no like speed, quickness. There's just, I like I said, I feel like he was so underwhelming when jumping for a ball sometimes. I'm like, man, if this is supposed to be what he's like kind of good at, then we're really in trouble here. So not necessarily the biggest fan of Mr. Elijah, but Antonio Williams, on the other hand, completely different story. I think this was, next to Bryce Lance, my favorite receiver to watch of these 10. And I feel like he doesn't necessarily have a calling card trait, but I feel like he does everything so well. He's high effort every single down. I think if he didn't get hurt this year, and if Klubnik didn't suck, he would have built on the momentum from 24, and his perception of post 25 would be so much different. Like, this is like a very good player after the catch. He's got like running back type vision. He's always been productive in college on top of it. Like, every single year in his college career, he's been an impactful player, and he's got that like Tyler Lockett type downfield, not speed per se, but his separation ability downfield reminded me of Tyler Lockett in a way. And there are a lot of plays where I saw him winning at the intermediate level in ways that Tyler Lockett could. So I thought, going back and watching Lockett, I'm like, this might be a little bold because he was kind of like insane. But to some capacity, I see this guy being a long-term NFL player that even if he bounces around a couple teams, he will never not be relevant, similarly to how he was in college.
Yeah, that was kind of my thing with him. I was a really big fan going into this season, mainly because you watch him and you're like, not even play style. He just actually looks like Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
Like just the way that he like does his drip or whatever. I don't know. But I was like, man, this guy might be Amon-Ra. Then I watched and I'm like, maybe not. But I comped him to kind of a mix of Khalil Shakir and Christian Kirk, because I don't think he's quite as elusive as somebody like a Khalil Shakir after the catch. But I think they have fairly similar build. Same with Christian Kirk. I think pretty similar builds, and kind of like that good mix of the ability to win downfield and the ability to win after the catch, and like probably not supposed to be like a star wide receiver one on a team, kind of like how a Shakir and a Christian Kirk have been, but they've been used as a wide receiver one or a wide receiver two because they're capable and they're reliable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why I liked Antonio Williams. And you're kind of lacking in size. You're kind of lacking in like true downfield burner speed. And you're kind of lacking in any kind of like high end trait. But like he's a guy where I think he has like, again, talking about like the meter of traits, I give him a lot of sevens. And that's a good thing because he doesn't have a ton of glaring weaknesses. He's just pretty good, like above average at most receiver skill sets and traits, which will get you pretty far in the league.
For sure. I think he's got more of a downfield boundary receiver or out wide skill set than his utilization suggested. Like I think he played in the slot at like a 93% rate this year, which is just insane.
Yeah,
to me. But I do feel like he definitely could get down to like a 60-40, 70-30 type of split and be just as effective. So I think this guy is someone that might get labeled incorrectly as just like a pure slot receiver, but for the same reasons that I had Tyler Lockett comp to him, is I just think he's got every single tool necessary to win at every level from every alignment. So
yeah,
it makes it difficult to not be successful at the NFL when you can be plugged and played really everywhere.
Yeah, that's why I threw the Christian Kirk in there, because I'm like, I wanted to say Shakir just because of I wanted to represent like the size and the winning after the catch.
Mm-hmm.
But like there is a more advanced like route runner here. There is a more advanced downfield presence in which I think Christian Kirk has become throughout his career, and why he got paid and reset the receiver market. Because now he's kind of a meme of Christian Kirk, but like before, like he was a very well-respected receiver for doing exactly what he used to do. So I think if you kind of mix a guy like Shakir and Christian Kirk, that's a guy I would draft in the 3rd round.
Insert the meme of the guy like standing up in the classroom, like in awe, or you know what I'm talking about. And my take is that the Christian Kirk contract was not as bad as people made it seem. Like, yeah, obviously Christian Kirk resetting the market is like not great, but he ended up playing very good football and produced at a very high level for the next couple of years. So I'm not going to act like it was worth the money per se, but I'm also not going to say he underperformed it either.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, looking at it now, wouldn't be that bad, but
I mean, yeah, it was like jarring, but still, I think if he was named something like just not Christian Kirk, people wouldn't have been as upset about it.
People didn't make fun of his name until like the last 6 months.
Okay, but still, well, people were making fun of Christian. It's like Christian Kirk, like if he had a cooler name or something.
Yeah,
but Deion Burks is a pretty cool name.
I love Deion Burks, and I don't love Deion Burks from a perspective of like this guy needs to be a wide receiver one, but I love Deion Burks because he's just really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about a lot of twitchy guys when we talked about the top 10 receivers. This guy might be the twitchiest, to be honest. From like I'm over here, change directions, I'm over here now perspective, this guy can absolutely move. So I gave him like a Greg Dortch plus as my comp, because Greg Dortch has that. Like, he is so freaking twitchy, and he can change directions so fast. And some plays, he'll take like a drag and make the first man miss and get a first down. And we're like, why doesn't Greg Dortch get the ball more, man? Mm-hmm. Everyone has had that in their life. So like, why doesn't Greg Dortch get the ball more? And I feel like that's how we're going to think about Deion Burks. I do think, the offense in Oklahoma kind of made it hard to fully see the route runner that I think he can be, and that I think he already is, because we have seen it a little more. Because I think he was previously at Purdue, mm-hmm. and he was a lot more of a complete receiver there, where he was winning downfield pretty consistently. There's a lot more to him than I think he gets credit for. And I think he's labeled as one of these gadget guys, but I don't think that he necessarily has to be. I think that he just can be a twitched up 3rd option. And I love the guy. I
liked him too. Deion Burks, I gave a Zay Flowers light comp to.
Yeah.
And he, on the boundary, like you said, he's a guy that people perceive as this gadget. And especially for Zay Flowers' case, it's like early in his career, the amount of screens he got was kind of gross. And then people started having discussion about, maybe he can just be used as a receiver. Like, why do we have to keep doing this? And in the same light with Burks, where you already highlighted the offense at Oklahoma, maybe holding him back, I think Mateer also didn't have didn't benefit him much. So I think with a better quarterback, a better offense that's kind of not what Oklahoma was doing, I think we could see a lot more from Deion Burks as well. And the thing with Burks that I liked a lot, that I was kind of shocked to see, is he works the sideline so well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he's got great body control. I think he is very twitchy. I am kind of concerned. I feel like I saw times where his lateral agility is good. Obviously, he's very good. He's a fast player, but if it's a cut that requires him coming back to the ball, I feel like it took a few more steps than it needed. Maybe he's just like running too fast already or something. But I think if I really wanted to nitpick, that was where I was like, there were some, focus drops I felt like as well. And similar to Zay Flowers, it's like Zay will do something crazy, and then it's like, okay, Zay, what the fuck was that? And I feel like there were some moments with Burks like that as well. But ultimately speaking, when you're looking at this field of players, Burks definitely sticks out. And in the right offense with a quarterback that I think is a bit more accurate and better as far as decision-making goes, you can get a decent wide receiver 3 out of Deion Burks.
His combine was nuts, too. I don't know if you saw his numbers, but you're in a 4.3 flat 40, 42.5-inch vertical, 26 reps on the bench for a guy that's like 180 pounds. Those are impressive numbers. And I think people already would have liked this tape if they turned it on. Seeing him work out the way that he did. I mean, I from everything I've heard, I think there's a pretty good character in that brain too. So I could definitely see him being a guy that is, top 10 on some people's lists, and I won't argue. He's probably not that far off on mine. He's a really fun player.
He is. I will say, though, he falls in that bucket of like, man, he ran a 4.3, but like maybe it was just the Oklahoma offense, but I just didn't see that vertical threatening ability either. But
no, but I think his 4.3 was more convincing than Matthew Golden's 4.28 or whatever the hell that was.
That's true.
He's faster than Matthew Golden. He's quicker and faster. And that one shocked me.
That was crazy. That
was like a 4.43 receiver. And that's not a bad time. But that's how he runs. And they fucker ran like a 4.28.
That was like that was almost what was more shocking, Matthew Golden's 40 time or Carnell Tate's 40 time?
I don't know. I kind of thought Carnell Tate was around there. I had like I was like a 4.48 was my prediction. So it wasn't that far off.
No.
Yeah, Golden ran a 4.29. That's so stupid. No shot.
That is insane.
We did not see that ever in college or the NFL yet.
Wow. That is crazy.
Well, we want to talk about some slow receivers.
Yeah.
Move on to our next guy.
Really, I didn't want to dislike, because I feel like I saw a lot of anti-Jacoby Lane propaganda on Twitter prior to, researching this episode, and I wasn't a fan. Marvin Jones was the comp I came up with purely because I just couldn't think of anybody else. I know Marvin Jones is like 2 inches shorter, but I just don't ever really remember Marvin Jones being much of anything other than just this guy that wanted the catch point. And
hey, man. Talking to the biggest Marvin Jones fan of all time here, okay? If Jacoby Lane can be half as good as Marvin Jones, I will throw him a party.
That's fair. Honestly, you're right. Like, I do think Marvin Jones is a better player than Jacoby Lane will end up being.
1,100-yard receiver, by the way.
What else? Who else do I comp Jacoby Lane to? Just
I struggled.
Zero separate. Like, there's not a single play there's separation. I feel like everything was at just this one bland speed. And don't ask him to run a full route tree, please, because that would be just, it would just be ugly. Like, there was nothing that I was intrigued by. And almost in the same idea of what we talked about with Boston, where if this was like 10 years ago, he'd be a highly touted prospect because of the way people are looking at receivers nowadays. But even if this was 10 years ago, I feel like Jacoby Lane still would be like a third round pick. So right. He's not even good. I don't even think he's that good at what he does.
There's a lot of people that think he should be like a third round pick. Still,
that's crazy.
Yeah, and his 40 time was also completely way off what I thought it would be.
Yes.
What was it, like 4.4 something?
4. Yes, it was a 4.4, I think.
Yeah, that's insane because I don't think we ever saw anything close to that. Maybe he just plays at like 50% speed the entire time, but I mean, fuck, this might be the slowest receiver in this class, I felt. And I gave him the Alan Lazard comp because I see a huge frame, 6'4 plus, 200 pounds plus. And there are moments, and I will be nice to him for a couple minutes because there are moments where he has the best spectacular catch ability in this class. Like there are some goal line phase, there are some plays downfield where he can catch a ball that I think almost everyone else in this class could not get to it. And I think that he's also a pretty smart player. Like when it comes to route running against zone, I think he can find success. And that's where I felt like he could be a Lazard type player where he is, a high IQ player. And I think he does have good hands, very, very good hands. But then everything else, like if you man him up, you can just tuck him in. Like you can just put him right to bed, man. Like you can put a pillow under his head, tuck him in. He's out of there. After the catch, there's really nothing. Threatening downfield, there is a threat because he can catch it over your head, but no one's afraid of his speed. So they can just play completely underneath and it'll be fine because he's not going to beat you downfield. And then trying to get open, like you said, trying to separate against man, not even just on the tape, like even like the Senior Bowl, any of these kind of events where he has had opportunities to shake somebody and get a couple yards of separation, do a cheap route, take the slant, run a drag at the Senior Bowl practice for all I give a shit. Get open, man. And he tried to run deep a lot, tried to run like a sluggo, tried to do a bunch of different stuff. And it was just, they were in his pocket. Like he was a kangaroo and they were literally in his pouch. And it was hard to watch because I really wanted to like him. I watched a lot of Mekhi Lemon, so I watched a lot of Lane, and I saw him on the side catch a lot of really cool contested catches, and I was like, yeah, man, this guy has it. And then I watched his other routes. I was like, damn, that's bad.
I think to some degree, I have a hard time getting behind a spectacular catch artist anymore because that, of all things, I feel like is almost impossible to fully translate to the NFL. Like you are just simply big brothering players that are just not good enough. Where like you obviously you get the top 1% at the NFL level that are doing these things, but I think there's like the functionally strong players at the catch point, like a Boston, like a Pittman, like there's that type of, dunk on you type of guys. And then there's the Jacoby Lane type of jump ball receivers. And I just don't see a universe where he is like literally baptizing these guys with one hand. Like he had a catch that I saw where he like literally like stiff armed the guy and then one hand caught it, like back palmed it. I'm like, this is some shit that I would see with like my friends where the one guy's just obviously better than everybody and he just like throws him to the ground and embarrasses him. Like this is just not going to fly against a corner that has any self-respect. I'm sorry. So I don't know. And he moves every bit of 6'4". Like he's 6'4", 200. He moves like he's 6'4", like 235. Like he just doesn't fucking move. Like he just doesn't move.
No, I think he's fluid and he's smooth, but the explosion is just completely not there. And for me to be 6'4" and a contested catch guy and your physicality is a low level, that's my main problem. Because you can be a Cortland Sutton, you can be these guys that rely on contested catch ability, as a career, but they're much more explosive athletes and they are much more physical. They are much stronger. And I just don't see that with Lane. I see the idea of why he is enamoring for some, but just not for me. I'll let somebody else do that.
Agreed. I feel like not a lot of people are big fans. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I just follow the right people.
There's definitely some fans.
Well, why draft Jacoby Lane when Malachi Fields exists, I guess. Am I right?
That's kind of my exact train of thought. Like he is extremely slow. He has no shiftiness to him whatsoever, but he plays big boy football like a big boy. And that's kind of my thing. Like he's 6'4", he's 218. he almost might just take like the Jawan Johnson route and just be a tight end, because a lot of my favorite things about him were his dominance at the catch point and his physicality, especially as like a blocker. I really liked his blocking tape, especially back at Virginia before he transferred. And I think it's safe to say he has the best catch in this class. I don't know if you saw that one catch I'm referencing.
Yeah.
But dude, it is unbelievable. And he has a couple of those kind of plays on his tape where you're like, oh my God, that guy's floating for being a big receiver. Again, extremely limited, I think, just athletically in terms of anything after the catch. I think route running against the league is going to be really hard because they're bigger, they're stronger, they're going to be in your hip. And he's going to have to consistently win at the catch point. But I think that he has a better chance at doing that than Lane, because he's stronger, because he's more physical, and he'll be able to stay on the field more because he can be a blocker. And I feel like he is like the perfect wide receiver 3 for like the Rams or something. Like he can be like that Tim Patrick-y type receiver. But I gave him Brandon LaFell as a comp, mainly because I wanted to find a comp that you wouldn't do because you kept copying me last time. And I figured you wouldn't find Brandon LaFell, but very similar guys where they're just big, they're kind of slow, but they're just big and strong. And they block and they do the dirty work and they make a career out of it.
So far, we're shooting 0% from the field in that way.
Outstanding. So. I made sure of it with a couple of these comps that you wouldn't.
Well, I went with Kenny Galladay for Malachi Fields, and unlike my Marvin Jones comp to Lane, I actually feel like this one is a lot more accurate in my mind.
Yeah.
I find Malachi Fields to be, unlike Lane, a lot more capable of just doing whack-ass shit to get to the football. And Galladay was somebody that could twist when he was good. He could twist in the air like a ballerina. He could spin his body around, and he could jump in the air for a ball in ways that a lot of guys can't. And that was what I saw with Fields. Like that catch you're referencing is a perfect example, of course. And there were other catches similar, of not the same extent. But the problem is you're either getting one of two things with Fields. And I feel like the Galladay comp was perfect because he was a tale of two careers. And I feel like for Fields, it's going to be one or the other. It's either he's going to be the first half of Kenny Galladay or the second half of Kenny Galladay. You hear all about him. He's making all sorts of crazy catches, 1,200 yards, etc. Or you're going to get a receiver that is, out of the league and, basically rendered useless. So,
yeah. And he's a guy I love. I loved his tape. I've loved him since he was at Virginia. I would not be shocked if I found out that he was one of those guys that just like is out of the league fast. I would not be shocked, just because like when you're a slow contested catch guy, the hit rate is pretty low. But I think that, like you said, I think that he has the best odds of any of these big contested catch guys to do it. And I think a lot of that is from his frame, from his physicality. Like you said, his body control is awesome. And I think he does a really good job surviving too. Like a lot of guys, they'll make a crazy catch and then they'll hit the ground and it pops free. He does a really good job of finding a way to fall gracefully too and not pop the ball out. Like he's just really good at this. But it's just, can he find his way onto a field without having to run routes? That's really all it's going to be.
I think I would rather have Malachi Fields than Michael Trigg.
At tight end? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would.
Like, why would anybody take? I like. What does Michael Trigg do better than Malachi Fields in terms of a tight end? I don't know.
Nothing.
No, literally.
Loki might be better after the catch, and that's it, which is weird because the tight end should not be better.
No.
But Loki, that might be it. To be honest, I would rather have Fields, and I think my grade reflects that too. I have an early 3 for him, and an early day 3 for him, and I think a mid day 3 for Trigg.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a Trigg fan. I'm like a Trigg hater, unfortunately.
I'm not a hater.
People like him a lot. I just can't behind it.
He's a production guy. Like he had a good year, stat wise. Caught a couple touchdowns, a lot of yards, but again, not it for me.
Is Dejean? Let me start that. Dejean, right?
I think so.
Dejean Stribling.
Every time he catches it, they just say Stribling. So I have no idea.
They definitely do that on purpose.
Yeah, they're like the Stribling. Yeah, good shit, dude.
Well, Stribling, the Ole Miss receiver, from what I understand, he kind of burst on the scene pretty late, like in the college football playoff, and he made a few big plays. he is somebody, unlike Sarratt, who is roughly this size. I think Stribling plays bigger than his size comparatively to Elijah. And I think he's reliable. This is a guy that I think you could find on a lot of NFL teams because he does everything you kind of need him to. He'll make the catches you ask him to. He's a guy that can occasionally crack a big play open because he's got the speed to do it. And I think similar to Fields, I think he's actually a very good blocker. I think this is a guy that was, I think he lined up in line a few times and he was lead blocking. Like he was lead blocking pretty frequently. I'm like,
early in the year, especially when they didn't know like how good he was, he would only like come in on rundowns. So every time I saw like those red cleats, I'm like, oh, there he is.
Yep.
And then I'm like, fuck, this is so wrong. And then take him out. And then, yeah, like you said, you didn't really get to see all of him running routes until probably the last 3 games of the regular season. And then the whole playoff were all, like, I mean, it was all really good football, but it just took a while. So it was like really hard to sift through the tape and find out what was real and what wasn't.
For sure. And that was kind of where I decided on a guy like Brashad Perriman. From what I remember of Brashad Perriman, he was a fast receiver that just needed refinement in the areas of being a receiver, quite frankly. But he was a fast player. The tool set was there. For being a more physical player, he's got the agility and the lateral quickness, and he's just flat out fast to be a multi-level winner. It's just like, will a team take him in and decide, we want you to be, an actual working functional receiver, or do we want you to be kind of what Ole Miss was utilizing him as, in more of like just a dirty work guy? But either way, he could work his way onto a field, into a receiver room, doing either of those things. So I'm not thinking he's going to come in and ever be, I don't know if he'll ever be an 800-yard receiver ever. He might be like a 500 to 800-yard guy at his peak. But I think functionally speaking, if he does pan out, he'll be somebody that will be on one team for a very long time and be a pretty solid contributor, doing a lot of the things that a lot of receivers simply don't want to do.
Yeah, he's one of my guys. And I just love the way that he plays. And I comped him to like an athletic version of Eli Giominor from last year. And he had a pretty good rookie year on the Titans, all things considered. But his main thing was he was strong and he wanted the catch point and he did all the dirty work of being a blocker. But he just wasn't like that fast. Like he couldn't get open downfield. He couldn't win after the catch as well. And I think Stribling does. I think those are actually his best things that he does outside of blocking. Some of the plays he had, whether it be red zone fades or whether it be catch a slant and take it to the house, he has a couple things where I think that he is extremely impressive. And while being a good route runner and a really good separator is the most important part of being a receiver, and those probably are his worst things, I think he does everything else at least at an above average level that I really like it. And obviously not being an elite route runner will keep you from probably ever being, a 1,300-yard receiver. But I do think that he can be a guy that catches multiple big touchdowns in a game or in a season, multiple, 30-plus yard run after catch touchdowns in a year. He's a beast. Like I really, really like his style. I really like his style of play. And I think he is like the most ideal wide receiver 3 in the league.
I think he would be awesome for the Eagles, specifically because I saw the Eagles run this play with Dallas Goedert. That's kind of like an RPO flat where Goedert runs across the face and they just kind of dump it off to him and hope he can get the edge, or hope that the play action just kind of bites the linebackers down so he's got room. I saw Ole Miss run that similar play with Stribling so frequently in the games I watched. But the difference was Stribling's actually fast enough to get the edge and, like you said, turn it into a relatively large play. Whereas Goedert, it's like, all right, he might get the corner, but you're still getting like 11 yards. Like Stribling's turning these into like 20 to 30-yard plays sometimes. So I think he would be perfect in an offense like that, especially given what he provides physically speaking. So I was a fan. I was definitely a fan of Stribling.
Yeah, he's an odd profile, but love the player.
What about Skyler Bell?
It's kind of how I felt. Skyler Bell was a guy that produced extremely well this season, playing over at UConn, and I think it put him on a lot of people's radar. because he does a lot of things at the college level pretty well. He was a pretty good route runner in college. He won after the catch a lot. He kind of had a very good, like, well-rounded profile for a college player. My issue with him kind of is more trying to translate a lot of his skills to the NFL. And I think a lot of the things that he was very good at in college, I think he'll only kind of be slightly above average at in the league. I think after the catch, he was very impressive. I don't think he'll be a demon in the NFL. Same with his route running. He had a couple of games where he was untouchable, but I don't see that quite translating as much to the league. He's 5'11", 192. I don't think he looks any bigger than that. He tested pretty well. I think he's honestly a pretty average athlete at the receiver position. I gave him a Jaden Reed comp, and that almost feels too rich of an athlete. But it was the only guy that I think had the size and the kind of production that I think Skyler Bell will probably end up putting up. But overall, being a guy that played at Wisconsin and didn't get on the field until he transferred down to UConn, like, that's just a big red flag too. I'm not as big of a fan.
Agreed. Yeah, I felt every bit of the same way when it came to Skyler Bell. And when I tell you I spent like probably 14, not literally sitting down and thinking hours of who to comp him to, but probably it took me like from the time I was like, all right, time to find a comp for Skyler Bell to the time I found him, between doing things, eating dinner, it was like 14 hours later. I'm like, all right, fuck it. I guess Luke McCaffrey. I don't know. Like, there just was nothing to me that I was that enthused by. There was you can tell he's got like what it takes to be a decent route runner. Like, he's got the tempo, he's got the nuance, like he's got that part to his game. But like, this was the definition of force feeding. Like, they put him anywhere they could on the field to get him the football. We had a few guys that were, playing lower level Division I football that we've already talked about that had like multiple games of like 12 plus targets. But I felt like Bell was just like legitimately put in the backfield, at flanker, out wide, like anywhere they could to get him a screen pass or a dump off to try and get his rack involved. And I'm like, all right, like, this is getting kind of old. I'm not seeing any sort of ball skills whatsoever. Like, seeing him engage downfield with the DB and then try to disengage to attack the football was painful. Like, he was just like reaching his hands up in the air like he was drowning trying to make a catch. Like, it didn't look like there was any ability to win there. And like, I get he's not supposed to be that, but he's also not like, Zach Branch size. He's not Brenen Thompson size. Like, there was a couple catches he made through traffic that I felt like were just kind of more lucky. Like, he had a catch against Syracuse really late that like was between three guys that was like 40 yards downfield, but I think a DB like trapped it for him, kind of. Like, it was a tough catch, but I didn't think that spoke to his ability to catch in traffic or to make a contested catch whatsoever. So yeah, I was very meh on this player, and I think there are probably a lot of like niche fans of Bell. I could be wrong, but I definitely feel like this is a player I could see people being really enthused by. But that was kind of the case with Luke McCaffrey. I feel like people were saying like, Luke McCaffrey, just wait for Luke McCaffrey. They got Luke. It's like, okay, it's been like 4 years now. What has Luke McCaffrey done?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as like a receiver prospect, if you're gonna like come onto the scene and just kick ass immediately, you usually have 1 to 2 traits. Even if your other traits aren't good, you have 1 to 2 that are really, really good. And we saw that with guys like Puka. We see that with guys that emerge onto the scene, and we're like, who is this guy? How is he good all of a sudden? They always have some kind of trait where they are in the top 90% in the league at. And I don't see that with Skyler Bell. I think he's good after the catch, and I think he is a pretty good route runner. But I think I'm only seeing like maybe league above average there. And I don't see a single trait where I'm like, yeah, that's going to be his calling card. That's going to be the reason why teams love him. I think he's just going to be a solid runner, solid route runner, solid after the catch, and then that's about it.
Yeah, I just don't see any functional play strength at the NFL level for him whatsoever. So I think he'll have a tough time dealing with any sort of contact, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, that will be 10 more receivers from the 2026 NFL draft. So that's 20 covered. That's pretty impressive. It's
a lot. And I bet there will still be some good ones that we just didn't get to talk about, but there's a million receivers and we would be here forever.
Yeah.
And we could just go through a list of 50 and be like, Josh Cameron, Skyler Bell, But we do try to give like our actual like in-depth opinions, and we don't talk about it beforehand. So we're not agreeing that a player sucks and like being convinced by the other one to have a certain point of view. We have very unique perspectives on these guys, and we just kind of come to a lot of very similar conclusions on some of them because that might just be who the players are.
Yeah, very true. I think this was the first prospect episode where we didn't have one exact comp.
Yeah, well, we did, but they were for different people.
Yeah,
Alan Lazard was weirdly the only receiver that showed up twice, and it was for different players. But yeah, Elijah Sarratt and Jacoby Lane. How exciting!
I had a really hard time with comping some of these guys. I think I have a difficulty doing so because if I already don't really see you as an NFL player, how am I going to comp you to an NFL player? So I get like caught in my own head deciphering whether I should comp them to a decent player or if that's overselling. Like with Jacoby Lane, that was the boat I found myself in. It's like, yeah, Marvin Jones was pretty damn good for a few years. I don't think Jacoby Lane's going to be that, but I can't think of another skinny, tall receiver that was kind of always winning contested footballs. So it's like, fuck, man, whatever. I can't spend any more time thinking about this. But if you guys enjoyed, as always, join the Discord linked in the description below. Like, comment, subscribe, share. The next episode, we are doing a mock draft with a special guest. So you will have to wait and see who that is. We're excited for that. But we're going to continue. I think we got IDL, linebacker, and both defensive back positions left. So still a lot of prospect reviews on the horizon as well. But we will see you in episode 103.